Hi, this is Sue. Today I was wanting to talk about forgetting words. So the title of this is Forgetting Words is helping, or is it hindering? So forgetting words is helping, or hindering. So I've noticed lately that I'm trying to think of the name of a program that I was talking to my husband about the other day. And I think I have the word in my head, and then when I go to try and find it again, somewhere in the dim dark recesses of my brain, I just can't find it. And so I'll start to tell him the story or talk to him about something to do with the program that I wanted to talk about on telly. And I'll get to this point and I'll go, oh, can't remember the name of it now. And then I'll say something like, it's like a cop program, but there's a guy that helps the cops, but he's not a cop. I think he might be a priest. Now, anybody that watches this program will know what that program is. Now, at the moment, I cannot bring out from my brain the name of that program. So I'll say that sort of thing to my husband. Sometimes I don't give him that much detail. It'll be just, it's a program and it's a cop program and somebody's helping them that's not a cop, but I can't remember what they do. But it's a guy, and it can be a bit airy-fairy sometimes. And bless him, my husband goes, not sure quite which one you're talking about. And I said, yeah, there seems to be a spate of programs. There is a nun that helps solve crimes. God, I could get my tongue twisted around my tonsils there and I couldn't say it. Yeah, there seems to be a spate of people that are helping people who are policemen with their jobs. We watched a program called Silent Witness. See, I've remembered that. And now I can't remember what they do. The people that do the autopsies, again, name of that job will come to me. They're out interviewing people about things that had happened to do with the case of this missing person that had been found, or whoever the person was who had the body and we're going to do a post-mortem. And we're sitting there going, no, I don't think person in their position would be interviewing people like a cop would. It just seemed really strange. So anyway, we're talking about memory and things, and sometimes quite simple words on the surface of it just escape me, and I'll start having a conversation and I just partway through go, no, I can't think what that word I was going to say. And the other thing is, every night we tend to sit down and maybe watch a bit of a series that we're watching. And I think almost every night we'll go and we'll sit down, we'll get ready to go, and I'll say to Aid, are we watching something at the moment? He said, yeah, we're watching that program, and he describes it. And I'll go, oh, yeah, of course we are. Of course we are. And then he'll put it on and we'll watch it. The next night comes around and we go, are we watching anything tonight? He goes, yeah, that program that we watched last night and probably the night before. Remember? And I'm just like, oh yeah, now that you mention it, I think I do. But sometimes I know it's really difficult, but I don't know myself what is best practice, what is helping or not helping when it comes to those moments. Sometimes I'll say, oh, I'm trying to find the name of that program, and I said it's something to do with, and I'll say a few things like it's in a village and this guy is a priest, and I'll go, no, don't tell me, hang on. I just feel like it's just in the back of my brain there. If I think hard enough, I might figure it out. And he'll look at me and I said, no, don't help me just yet. I want to see if I can get it out of my brain. Let's talk about something else for a while. And it's a bit like when I used to study and I was writing essays. See, I forgot the word essays for a sec there. When I was writing essays for uni, I'd get to a certain point sometimes and I'd think, not quite sure how to phrase this or where I was going with that thought. And I get stuck and you sit there and it's like writer's block. You just can't get that information out of your brain and down on paper or on the computer. So instead of sitting there and going, oh, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this written, I've got to get it in, and putting that pressure on myself, we lived not far from the beach. So I'd go just down the road a little bit, turn right, up over the sand dunes, find a log, sit down and look at the waves and listen to the waves crashing on the shore. And 10 minutes or so of that, and I go, now I can go back and try that essay again. And 9 times out of 10, I'd get back and it would flow. Because I find with my brain, I don't know about anybody else's brain, but I only know mine. With my brain, if I try to push it to remember and put it under stress, that word, that memory, is just going to fly away. It's going to hide. I won't be able to get it out. But if I back off and go, let's talk about something else for a bit, it might come to me. Or he can go, I have no idea. I have no idea from what you said. No clue. It wasn't really that helpful. And I have to agree, sometimes it's not. And I was talking to a new friend that I've made at Bowls, a Dutch lady, and we were talking about, she says she's got ADHD, and she said she quite often talks really quickly and interrupts people, and I went, I think I might be a bit the same. And I remember, I think maybe it might have been my brain saying, you need to talk to this person quickly or that thought's going to go. So as a social worker working in a busy hospital, I work with physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech language therapists, or speechies as we used to call them, doctors, nurses, all sorts of people that were involved in the care of a patient. And I might have a particular sort of course of action that I was involved in, and I might think, I really need to talk to the speechie that's involved with it. And it might be Kirsten. And so I go, must get hold of Kirsten. And at one stage they only had pages, they didn't have phones. And we shared an office, so I thought, I'm bound to come across her and I'll talk to her about that patient. So usually, if I had my wits about me, I would write myself a note about what I wanted to talk to the speechie about. Now, I'll get busy with my day, they'd be busy with their day, and then I'd see them in the office, in the sort of workroom, on the ward, and I'd go, Kirsten, I really need to talk to you about. And I'd just, as soon as I saw her, just start going for it. And then suddenly something would go, hang on a minute. And I'd look at her and go, are you a bit busy right now? And she'd usually laugh and she'd go, yeah, I am a bit. Can we catch up on this a little bit later? And I'd say, yeah, 10 minutes, or do you want to make a time? And we'd agree between us and we'd catch up. And that used to work, but it was this need to pounce on that person because we've been thinking, I really need to talk to her so that I can crystallise my thinking on what I'm going to do and how we're going to work together for this person. And in my enthusiasm and in my desperation to grasp hold of something before it escaped my brain, I would launch at people and go, hi, good, I'm glad to see you. I need to talk to you about, and you could just see them go, whoa, hang on a minute. I need to catch up. I trained myself after some time, most of the time, to come in and go, hey, look, I need to catch up with you. When's good? When can we sit down and have a bit of a 5-minute chat? And it usually was only a 5-minute chat. And so I had to train myself to do that. And I also knew that one of the things about my job was I would often have to leave messages for other very busy people, like people in the funding agencies and people like that. And I learnt quite early on, and it's probably me noticing that I was forgetting things in the last 5 years or so especially. I would leave a message, and if I just said, hey, can you ring me back about Joe Blogs? And then they might call me 3 days later. And so they'll call me 3 days later and say, hey, I'm just ringing about Joe Blogs, you left me a message. And I go, oh, shit. Okay, yeah, I know I left you a message. What was it about? They went, I don't know, but you left me a message. And often, in my busyness, and maybe with my brain starting to be a bit compromised, I couldn't for the life of me remember. So I got into the habit of ringing them and say, hey, Julie, Sue here from ward such and such. Just want to talk to you about Joe Blogs, whether he's got any respite or not available, because it looks like he might need it. Bit of a longer message, but if she rang me back, or when she rang me back, because she always did, she'd ring me and say, hey, Julie here. You wanted to talk to me about Joe Blogs, whether he had respite. And I went, oh yeah, I did. And then we could have a conversation. And it was the only way it could work for me. And it became a definite part of my strategy to combat sort of lapses in memory. So when we're forgetting words, does it help when people are helping? Or does it hinder when people are trying to be helpful? Sometimes it can be helpful, but I think for me, I appreciate if I'm given the opportunity to try and find that name of the program, that name of the person, the thing that I was trying to reach for in my brain, to make a comment or have a conversation. And it's helpful if people give me that space. My husband's pretty good. He doesn't always know what I need from him, and I don't necessarily know from 1 minute to the next what's the best thing. But perhaps have that conversation with the people who support you and say, when it comes to having a conversation, if I'm starting to tell you something, and you can say, I will give you the cue, actually, I'm having trouble, could you help me with this? And they may say, or they might have realised, like, we're going to a nice place for dinner at Christmas, and I couldn't remember the name, and I called it all sorts of things, and I could see the look on his face, and I go, no, I can't remember, what is it? And he'll tell me. So that's quite good. But I think having that conversation with the person that supports you to say, hey, when I forget names, when I forget where I was going with something, you can ask me if I want you to help me with the word. And sometimes I'll say, no, just give me a little bit longer. Sometimes I might say, oh yeah, it's not just coming. It's just not coming to me. I've completely lost it. It's not in the memory banks. And yeah, if you could try and help me, that would be great. Or maybe change the subject. Talk about, I don't know, talk about anything. Talk about a program we've been watching. Talk about the grandchildren. Talking about something off the particular topic that you were discussing when you got that roadblock in your brain. And sometimes moving gently away, talking about something unrelated, can be helpful. Also, when an idea pops into your head, or a name, or I've got quite a habit of writing things down. So keep a pen and paper with you perhaps, and just jot down the thing that you want to talk about, especially if it's reasonably important. Everybody's different strokes for different folks. And just for me, I think I appreciate my husband gives me space to try and remember, but I also appreciate when he looks at me, and I can tell by the look on his face that he's completely bamboozled by what I'm trying to tell him. And I'll say, have you got any ideas of where I was going with that? And sometimes he will, but sometimes he won't. And sometimes I'll just say, maybe I'll figure it out later. And it could be an hour or two later, I go, oh, I remember what the name of that program was. And I'll come out with it. But yeah, I still can't remember the name of that program with the bloody priest in who's helping the copper. So yeah, sometimes it's trying hard to remember these things, pushes it further and further into the back of your brain. But yeah, forgetting words, is helping, or is it hindering? I wonder what works for you. This has been Sue for Parkies and Me, my journey with Parkinson's. Kia kaha, be brave, be strong, be you.